Hello, Poppet.
Hey everybody, welcome back to TheoryCraft. It's good to see you guys again. Now, as you know, me and Ben are doing videos on our own as I can't go around to his to do all the editing and so on and to do videos together. So at the minute, we're just gonna have to settle with doing videos separately. But that's okay, because we're gonna have lots of new, exciting content out there for you. So let's get into this list. So this is gonna be a top 10. Now, it's going to be about Ang Lee's 2003 Hulk. Now, as a kid, I enjoyed watching it. As a kid, I thought it was brilliant. What was I meant to know? But as I got older and actually started to do more research into Marvel and so on, it just kind of fell flat. You had too many antagonists, the story sucked, you had Absorbing Man, who was Bruce Banner's dad for whatever reason, which made absolutely no sense. You had Gamma Hulk dogs, whatever they were, and the story was just flat. And I know I can do it better. Okay, so this is the top 10, so without further ado, here is 10 things that could have made Ang Lee's Hulk awesome. Number 1, we're gonna have Absorbing Man binned. David Banner, he's not gonna be in the film. Bin him, get rid of him. He's not gonna be in the film. He doesn't serve a particular purpose apart from being an abuser, apart from murdering Bruce's mother, and he gets sent to prison. And I would just personally just leave him there. Just leave him there, as him being an Absorbing Man just doesn't make any kind of storyline sense. As a story, it just kind of makes it feel weak, and it kind of makes it feel like Ang Lee had no ideas at the time, so I'm not gonna have him as the antagonist, as the villain, and I'll explain why later on, and we're gonna get into who I would pick as the main villain for this, and it's so obvious, it's staring you straight in the face. Okay, move on to number 2. And number 2, show the infamous desert scene. What I mean by the desert scene is that you had in the original comic books, you had this panel here. Very pretty, isn't it? Of where Bruce Banner, where he saves Rick Jones, when he throws Rick Jones down to save him, and then he gets blasted in the back with all these gamma rays, and you see all the rays going through him, you see like the changing panels, and you see him screaming in agony. And I love that scene. That is the iconic Hulk, which we know and love here at TheoryCraft. Me and Ben absolutely love that, and we wanted to see that in a film. We still not got it yet. Out in the desert, it makes for a much more amazing film. It gives a lot more kind of establishing the Hulk instead of just this beam of green light. If you actually go through the process, you spend a bit of time at the beginning of the film showing what they're doing with the gamma research and everything, but keep the beginning section of the film in where his father injects him with this serum, which you see the baby Bruce Banner kind of turns green, and you see when he gets angry he turns green as a kid. You keep that in, you need to keep that in, but show that bomb sequence out in the desert. It has much more impact if you actually show what they're doing with the gamma radiation. Make the effort to show the audience what's going on. Go into detail, go into a lot of detail, as I find that if you get 10 or 20 minutes into the film, it all makes sense, and the desert scene will make for a much more stronger, compelling story later on in the film. And number 3, Rick Jones. You have to have Rick Jones in it. Why have we not had Rick Jones yet? It's so obvious. He's the main kid in the comic. You know, he's pretty much the reason why Bruce became the Hulk. So pretty much, Rick, it's your fault. It is your fault why he's that big green monster. Okay? That's your fault. That's on you. So, you're gonna have Rick Jones in it. Like I said in number 2, he's the reason why he became the Hulk, and he runs out, the hero that's in Bruce Banner. He wants to save him, and he saves him, shoves him down in the trench, and he's sympathetic to Bruce afterwards. You see that throughout the comics, you see in the cartoons when Bruce is his friend and he sees Hulk as his friend, he wants to try and help Bruce, and you can have him be a really good side character. Don't overexpose, don't put him in the film too much, but just put him in there just enough so you can get that relationship that's formed between those two men, between this kid and between this scientist. You know, it makes for a much more compelling story, and it gets into a really good relationship between the two. So you've got to have Rick Jones in it throughout the film to kind of try and talk to Bruce, bring him down, and also have a scene or two with the Hulk, when he's with the Hulk. So it can kind of see how he's trying to break through Hulk to get to Bruce and vice versa. I find that works so much better. General Ross as the bad guy. At number 4, he's Betty Ross's father. He's the military. He hates Bruce. You know, he sees what's happened to him. He suspects Bruce. He blames Bruce. And he knows about the Hulk, knows what he's capable of. Hence, you have such an opportunity in that film. I don't know why Ang Lee did not just take him and just use him. He's right there. The problem is, like I said, you had too many antagonists, sorry. You had too many villains. You had Talbot, you had Ross, you had the military, you know, and you had Absorbing Man. It was just a confusing mess, everybody trying to get their 2 cents in. But no, just have one main villain. Just keep it simple, back to basics, you know, and you can tell such a compelling story. And I would keep that story going right the way through 3 films. I would try and make 3 films, of which I might do a list later on. If you want me to do a list, I will happily do that for you later on in maybe 1 or 2 videos. So let me know down in the comments if you want that. But he's the main villain, so make him the main villain. It's simple, easy story to follow. Number 5, make the Hulk grey. He has to be grey. I'm sorry, I don't care how much you associate him with green, because obviously that's what he is, but you have to make him grey, at least for the first portion of the film, when he first hulks out. And then he might later on in the film get blasted with more radiation, you know? But have him be grey. That is a throwback to Stan Lee, throwback to when they were producing the Hulk comics, because the Hulk was originally meant to be grey. If they had the money, would Hulk maybe have stayed green? But the story with that is because they couldn't maintain the grey colour because the printing and the colour was too expensive to maintain the grey, hence why they changed him to green, because it was a much cheaper alternative. So have him, when he first hulks out, to be grey. I think that's a really nice tribute to the writers, to the to the artist who painted the Hulk, who created the Hulk. You know, you have that really nice throwback and that really nice tribute to show Hulk being grey for the first time. You can only have his first Hulk out be grey, but it's a really nice touching tribute. And then later on in the film, as he maybe hulks up more, or maybe becomes more angry, he turns to that green, you know? And it might feel a little bit confusing at first, but it would be a really nice throwback to just go back to the roots, just to show that grey Hulk. Really nice touching tribute. Number 6, you have to hint at Wolverine in this film. You have to hint at Wolverine, otherwise I'll be really annoyed. Why am I getting annoyed? It's my film, I'm making it. What are you gonna do? Sorry, Ang Lee. But you gotta hint at Wolverine. Yeah, Wolverine's first appearance, which was in the Hulk comic. You know, so you got to have a little bit of throwback to that. They had a history, and in the cartoons they show that they have a history. They have a battle with each other. You know, they have such a history. These 2 characters, you know, within that comic you had Wolverine, who was working for the government in Canada, and he was tasked with having to kill Hulk. So why not just hint at that? Don't have him in the film, don't have him in it, but just hint at him. You know, maybe there could be a scene where General Ross is talking about that he might inject him, he might make a joke or a snarky remark saying, if I want to be as strong as Bruce or whatever, I might inject myself with his blood. And so, I might inject myself with his blood. So then a scientist could say to him, oh really, maybe you can go and hunt down some 3-clawed agents or 6-clawed agents, you know? You could throw that in there, you know, or maybe say, well, maybe you can go fight that mutant in Canada that's wearing a yellow lederhosen, or wearing a yellow, I don't know what I'm talking about. But you know, have that little in there. It's just a little hint. You know, it can make a really compelling story, and it's a little bit of a fanboy moment for the fans. Number 7. Have Bruce try to understand the Hulk. That's what I didn't like in that film. You didn't have that connection between the 2. You have to understand that the Hulk has different personalities, but we're just going to focus on Hulk and Bruce Banner for now, as Ben's doing another video on that. But just have the Bruce and have Hulk. It's like they're two people in the same car, and they both take turns driving, but they're still working together, they're still with each other. It's like one of them's putting their feet on the pedals and the other one's steering the car. You know, they are interlinked with each other. And Bruce tries to talk to the Hulk, tries to understand the Hulk, and you have in the comics where you have the Hulk who hates Bruce, but you have Bruce who's trying to understand the Hulk, understand why he's turned into this monster. They have that kind of psychic element with each other, so why not explore that? You could even have a scene where, I love that scene in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen when you have Dr. Jekyll when he's walking along when he's walking along the windows in the Nautilus, and you see Mr. Hyde in the reflection talking to him, and as he's walking, his reflection is Mr. Hyde. I loved that scene, and I think you could do something like that with Hulk. As he's walking through the lab, just before he Hulks out for the first time out in the desert, he's walking through the lab, and you see his reflection in the windows as this big monster. You know, why not explore that? And even in his mind, when he's trying to meditate and trying to calm himself down, trying to lower his heart rate, which you had in the Incredible Hulk. You could have something like that where he's trying to talk mentally to the Hulk, or maybe he has a dream and he goes into this subconscious area, this dark area where he might have a conversation with the Hulk or try and understand the Hulk. You have to understand these two guys are interlinked. They are interlinked every step of the way, and you have to explore that. They are two personalities themselves. You know, it's not just part of Bruce, they're two separate things. So why not explore that? You have so much potential for that. That can be explored later on in other films as well. And I think it would just make for a much more compelling story. So when you can have more sympathy for Bruce Banner, more sympathy for the Hulk as well. And you want to root for those two guys, so why not explore that? And number 8, there's going to be experiments with Bruce's blood on animals. There has to be. I mean, you had the beginning part. I would keep the beginning part in where you see David Banner experimenting with animals and so on. Then he experiments on his son, you know, but why not have that be a bit of a reverse? Have Bruce's blood being experimented on other animals like chimps, rats, you know, things like that. And they're creating their own kind of sim, seeing how they can weaponize it, seeing how they can use it themselves. You know, you could have a little scene where they're talking in a room or a conference call with scientists and the military, talking about how we can weaponize it and how they can use it for the benefit of themselves and maybe make money off it, you know, as a little secret dark agency like the Illuminati or something, you know. It's something that you can use. It makes for a compelling story later on down the line. You might not have to tell that story in this film. You could tell it in another film. You know, you just have so much potential there. So show the experiment, show the results of the experiments, even some failed experiments with rats and so on and other animals. Why not explore that? Makes for a much more compelling story, and it will make sense later on in the film. And number 9, keep the beginning of the film the same. I would not change much about the beginning. You know, it makes for that compelling story. But Bruce's dad goes away, he goes to prison, he's done with it. Okay, but Bruce's dad is gone to prison. He's no more, he's gone. He's not even in the film. He doesn't serve any purpose in this film whatsoever. Just leave him. Leave him in the dust. Leave him behind bars. You know, but you keep that in. It has much more of an impact, and you have to really drive home that this is torturing Bruce, that he's thinking about it, and maybe these images make him angry and so on. You have to keep those things in. It makes for a much more compelling story. Like when you see Bruce first Hulk out in the 2003 film, you see when you see the door that his mother was behind, you know, where his dad took her into that room, murdered her, and you see the door which is being bashed in. You know, keep those kind of things the same, but include more with the abuse and everything. Not too graphic, because obviously you want it to appeal to an audience, but just show a bit more, show that he's really tormented by this and he can't really cope with this into his adult life, you know, and that he's struggling with the anger, and obviously with the anger, there's the Hulk, you know, so why not drive home the hatred for his father, drive that home, you know, because that will be a really compelling story later on. Ang Lee should have done this, but if I ever had the opportunity to make this film, this is what I do. Have General Ross become the Red Hulk. This is something which I've always wanted to see, but still not seen it. And by the way, that's another thing. Why does the Red Hulk, like General Ross, why does he still have his mustache? That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, that doesn't matter. But why does he still have a mustache? Let me know in the comments. What are your thoughts on the Red Hulk still having a mustache? But anyway, you have to have General Ross as the Red Hulk. You know, he wants to be able to take him down himself. You know, you can have those scenes where the military's trying to take him down, they're trying to destroy the Hulk before he causes any more destruction, follow him to San Francisco. You can do all that, that is fine. You know, keep that the same. But this is where we go back to the experiments on the animals with Hulk's blood. They found a way to kind of weaponize it, to make it into something different, seeing how it reacts with our closest living relatives, which is chimps, you know? Experiment with that. So you can have a scene at the end of this film where you're gonna have the main scene, you know, where he hulks up in the back to tank or whatever. That's a Star Wars reference, but it's close as I can get, all right? So you have that where he breaks through the base and everything like that and busts out the door and jumps off into the desert. You keep that, but except out of the rubble, you're gonna see General Ross pointing a gun out into the desert, and obviously he can't hit the Hulk because he's too far away. But he goes back into the lab and everybody's cleaning up and so on. He sees the vials, he sees the documents and the notes, and he sees on a monitor which says DNA success blended with such and such DNA, you know, and he looks at a chimp that's in a cage in the corner, and this chimp is lost a little bit of hair. It's still hairy, but it's bulked up so much and its eyes are red. Look into the eyes, a close up on the eyes, the eyes are red. And it's done so much and it's been successful with that close lit red. General Ross picks up that sheet of paper, he looks at the vial, and then it gets to a close up on his face with a slight little smile and blackout. And if you're gonna have the Red Hulk, General Ross, you're gonna have a much more exciting second film. Especially because we've wanted to see the Red Hulk in a film for so long. This is a way to really drive home that and really make General Ross a proper antagonist, a proper villain in this film. But anyway, that's how I would have wrote Ang Lee's Hulk from 2003 and would have made it so much better, okay? So, do you disagree? Let me know down below in the comments, but this is how I think that I would have improved it if it had the chance to be wrote again by me. That's how I would have done it. Do you have any other things which you think would have made the Hulk film from 2003 better? Please let us down below in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, keep up your social distancing, stay well, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next video very soon.